everyone. Today I'm going to be discussing the theater of Dionysus, and we will also be discussing the aspects of the Golden Age of Athens. First off, we will be focusing on what it would have been like to attend a production in a theater from the past. We are talking specifically about Greek theater in this presentation, and for the theater of Dionysus, it was actually constructed as a shrine to the god Dionysus, the god of wine and merriment. And we see this pattern a lot in Greek stories and plays, as religion and the gods played a large part of the Greek social and cultural community. For this theater, we see an open-air setting on a hill with a raised stage and a semicircle seating arrangement. And a few common playwrights that you might catch in this theater would be Achilles, Sophocles, and Euripides. Now, we don't want to exclude anyone in these plays, so all social classes are allowed, men and women, but there are specific seating arrangements that we will be talking about later based on your class. Next up, we will be exploring how the concept of liveness today differs from how it was understood in that particular moment. With our contemporary definition of liveness, the textbook refers to liveness as real-time presence of live actors and live audiences. This ultimately makes theater ephemeral. The term ephemeral is referred to happening in the moment, and other media types such as movies and videos are not considered to be ephemeral, as they do not require any live interaction between the actors and the audiences. During this period, masks were used greatly to interact with the audience, as expressions weren't usually recognizable from the higher reaches of the theater. Using masks, exaggerated emotions such as sad, mad, and happy could be reciprocated by the audience in laughing, crying, and screaming. Bright-colored clothing was also worn in order to reach the audience that was maybe further away from the stage itself. In addition to laughter and crying, the audience could often be seen throwing stones and hissing in displeasure. This, in turn, could ruin an actor's career in merely seconds. In this part of the presentation, we will be exploring what place theater had in society, and it may be the most important part when we are thinking of Greek theater. As referenced to before, the theater of Dionysus was the central part of the festival of Dionysus, which is the celebration of the wine harvest and the gods that brought citizens a fruitful harvest. And for the respect of the gods, they would flock to the theater to experience this celebration. These productions originally started off being free, but then gained more traction and eventually charged an admission fee. This resulted in class-dependent seating. The rich were able to access VIP-type tickets and have the cushioned seats at the front, which included the best view and sound quality. The peasants and artisans, however, were forced into the seats in the back. Although both men and women were allowed to see these productions, women were also pushed to the back with the peasants and artisans, as this was a male-dominated industry. This can be directly attributed to the rise in Athens' power during this golden age. As Greece was not a unified place and was instead made up of city-states, Athens became a hub of artists, philosophers, and poets that were male-dominated in this industry. In addition to this, only native-born males were granted citizenship. In turn, this meant that women, slaves, and foreigners couldn't participate in any of the politics in the city. This resulted in theater becoming a male-centered art form at the time. This is shown most prominently by the actors on stage during these productions. Though many of the characters contained those of women, men were the only ones that were allowed to act, which led them to portray both parts of men and women stories. The Greeks believed this to be because women performing would be way too dangerous, and having men portray them would neutralize this danger instead. This concept carries to the playwrights as well, being mostly male with little to no women playwrights at this time. Thank you so much for viewing my presentation of the Golden Age of Athens, and I hope you learned a little bit more of this Greek age of theater.